support you if you win the nomination because we got to get rid of
Remy?
Trump. But what are we going to do about climate change? Now, you say you're against pipelines, but then you want to replace these gas lines. That's not going to work. We got to stop building and replacing pipelines.
You got to go vote for somebody else.
All right, thanks so much, sir. We're going to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'm going to vote you in the general if you treat me right.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm not.
Well, can I have a
Look,
picture?
you're asking a picture of me, coming up and telling me you don't support me.
No.
My plan, yeah, you did. You said
I said I would support you in the
in
general.
the general. I'm looking for a primary.
We're happy to
and
get a number.
caucus.
We can follow up.
That's what I'm looking for, okay?
Yo, what's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Prison Break Raw. I'm your host, the one and only Big JD. Go ahead, give this channel, subscribe, share at least some messages or comments with the thumbs up, with the like, with the notification bell to be informed on all episodes when they drop. Joe Biden is a beast. Hey, man, this dude is actually funny, right? Since I'm old as fuck, I know a lot about Joe Biden. I've been seeing him over the years. I remember when he ran for president some time ago and lost big time. And the one thing that I like to cover here on Prison Break Raw is a wide variety of topics. I know some of you don't like to hear me talk about politics, but we're gonna explore how prison life, the street life, government politics, geopolitical politics, business politics, the world is all just a bunch of politics in itself. And I know it makes some of you feel uncomfortable, but get used to it because it's a daily part of your everyday life. Everyday life, man. It is everything and all things around you. You can't get away from it, so you might as well face it head on and engage yourself in it to a greater or lesser degree, depending on your engagement and your attention span. But government politics is what we're going to talk about right here, and I'm going to show you and compare them to prison politics and show you how it all pretty much is parallel and intertwines and interlinks with itself, because everything that the government does affects us on many different levels. You may not know it, or you may not feel it, or you may not see it, but believe me, it does. It affects all of us, and we have no choice but to deal with it. To turn a blind eye to it, or to ignore it, or to walk away from it, or try to turn away from it, it's impossible. Unless you become a doomsday prepper and go out to the middle of goddamn nowhere, build yourself a mud hut, and plant your own vegetable garden. It's the only way that you're going to get away from it, by going completely off the grid, but then somebody's probably going to run you off of that government land, so you can't avoid it in any way, shape, or form. Find yourself an island somewhere, go to Antarctica. You might be able to get away from it from there for a little while, but who knows? Anyways, so how is Joe Biden a beast? And this might surprise some of you, because a lot of you out there that are leftists or on the left sphere of politics, mainly in the authoritarian branch, because if you believe in socialism and all that stuff, you are an authoritarian type of a person because you want to impose your beliefs on everybody else. But it may surprise you to hear me actually give props to a Democratic candidate. And it's like I've said before, I'm a libertarian, so I could do that. I can actually give props on both sides and give a thumbs down on both sides when I see it. And in this case with Joe Biden, right? There's big news that's going on. A few days ago, Joe Biden actually was confronted by a voter, very passive-aggressively coming up to him talking about, well, I'm not going to vote for you in the primary, but I'm going to vote for you in the general because I hate Donald Trump, which is the typical snowflake mentality of a lot of these losers that are out there in the world, right? As if voting for the lesser of two evils is going to make all things better. I don't understand that philosophy. It's just like you either stick with your guns or you don't. And that's just the way it is. To me, Joe Biden and Donald Trump are not very different. They're similar in a lot of ways, but different in many other ways. Now, I know a lot of people might disagree with me in giving props to old Uncle Joe and basically saying that he's very touchy-feely, he's a pervert in a lot of ways, but God damn it, man, who in the entertainment world is not? I don't really put a whole lot of stock in all these women that all of a sudden are coming out and feeling uncomfortable about old Uncle Joe, because they're uncomfortable for obvious reasons, right? Obvious reasons is why they are uncomfortable with Joe touching them. He's an old white dude. Now imagine, Let's say, for example, if Jason Momoa or Zac Efron or Taye Diggs was touching those same women in the same way, they wouldn't say a goddamn thing. Their panties would be getting all creamy, and they would be boasting to their friends how they got felt up by Aquaman and fucking God knows what. But because it's Joe, makes them a bunch of hypocrites. And a lot of these women that are in the political spectrum and stuff like that, I don't put a whole lot of stock in anything they say because they're all liars and bullshit artists and hypocrites and everything themselves. So when it comes to that right there, Joe Biden being a creepy, touchy type of a person, you know, a lot of people that are from Joe's generation are like that, man. I mean, a lot of like our grandparents were very touchy-feely and grabby and kissy and clingy and stuff like that. It's just something you got to deal with. I guess it's something that happens with age, man. It's all your hormones and everything are going out of balance and all that shit like that. I'm not going to take a shot at Joe's age, but I mean, he is up there. I mean, he's pretty far up there in age. But this dude is a gangster, right? In a lot of ways. He's corrupt as a motherfucker. I mean, we can't argue that. But who in politics is not? You have to understand that the government political world is just nothing but straight gangsterism at its finest hour on a higher degree, organized, taxed, and backed up by law and everything like that. You got to look at the government as they are basically the Mesa, they're the shot callers, and their torpedoes is the police, the FBI, and the military and all that. To a larger degree, that's what it is. It's the same thing in prison politics, and a lot of people don't like to hear about prison politics because they don't understand them. But politics rules everything in your life, all the way as far back as high school. I mean, you got high school politics where the cool kids basically set the standard for the other cool kids, and everybody else has to basically fall in line according to what they set. Life is all about politics. But the one thing that I got to give credit to Joe about in this case right here is the way that he handled this voter. Pushing his ass off like, get the fuck out of here then. Go vote for somebody else. You want a picture with me? And you ain't going to vote for me in the primary and support me in the primary? And a lot of people are up in arms. And I find it fascinating, the hypocrisy in the Republican side in bashing Joe for doing this when Donald Trump's been doing it for a long time. Like I told you, I call bullshit on both sides when I see it. I think that they should basically just laugh about it. Because if you're going to support one guy doing it, you got to basically laugh when the other guy does it. It's funny. This is where we're at now. With government politics in this country, Donald Trump has basically awakened the beast and brought it back to the old school way of how politics functions. Smearing, talking shit, going hard, in on anybody and everybody, and basically sticking your middle finger up to the media for most cases, because the media has always been the enemy of the people forever. The mainstream media, that is, because they have an agenda. They have an agenda of their own. They have their own politics that they function. And if you step outside of that, you're basically an outcast. You won't be accepted by them. You'll be smeared and smutted up by them just as well. This is the way the world works, people. And on this show, like I said, I like to bring a wide variety of topics because this stuff fascinates me. It's always fascinated me. I come from a very hardcore political family, you know, not actually in politics, but followed politics to the letter. Hardcore, hardworking, blue-collar Democrat family out of California, union members and all that stuff, right? But the Democratic Party of today is not like the Democratic Party of yesterday. Joe Biden represents the Democratic Party of yesterday. And if my father and grandfather were still alive, they'd probably want to vote for Joe. But at the same time, I could see that my father and grandfather would also want to vote for Donald Trump in a lot of ways. Because they bring the same message. They're all about the working man. But how much is Joe Biden for the working man if he's corrupt, if he's got his fingers in a lot of international affairs? It's mainly in Ukraine or in China. A lot of smut on him in regards to these two things. But then again, who is not? Who does not have their hand in the international cookie jar in one way, shape, or form? You have to, man. You have to understand that in order to be a successful leader in a very cold, dark, and dangerous world, you have to be corrupt. You have to a certain degree, be a tyrant. You have to be arrogant. You have to be sarcastic, or people are going to walk all over you. Take, for example, Barack Obama. The world used him as their fuckboy. Basically, he was a weakling. He was a soft individual, and the whole world knew it. And if we would have had 8 more years of an Obama presidency, I can promise you this: shit would be way more out of control than it is right now. Especially in Ukraine. You want to talk about Ukraine and holding up aid to Ukraine? Obama gave him a bunch of fucking ready-to-eat top ramens and blankets. Now imagine if he would have continued that policy into today. Ukraine would probably have been annexed by Russia, because it was only a matter of time. They were getting ready to do that. But when Donald Trump came in, Russia kind of took a step back, because Trump's more hawkish when it comes to military and when it comes to no nonsense and not taking shit from these different countries. I don't know how Joe Biden would fit into all that, but Obama was weak when it came to that shit. Look what happened in Syria. Look at ISIS. Look at Iraq. All this stuff that happened when Obama was there, it would have been 10 times worse right now if he was there another 8 years. Let's say, for example, 16 years was the term limits. You had 4 terms you could have ran, 4 years at a pop. And if he was there for another 8 years, it would have probably been a much different scenario going on in the world. And as far as the economy and everything like that, I don't believe that the economy would be in the shape that it is in right now. I'm considered to be in the high middle class bracket with the amount of money that I make as a single man, the take home and all that, you could look at it, or so to speak. And I tend to basically get a sick feeling in my stomach at the thought that I'm going to have to pay more taxes to support a bunch of programs to help other people that can ultimately help themselves if they just put forth the effort. Because miss me with the bullshit, right? I'm a dude that got out of prison, been in and out of prison my whole life, been in the streets, running and gunning forever, never contributed nothing to my Social Security, never voted really, except for the first time when I was 18 and it was the last time. Never did anything, right, constructive or positive for society. And when I got out of prison, I had absolutely nothing and no guidance and nowhere to go and nobody offering me shit. I basically took the initiative and got myself to where I'm at with no help from anybody else. So it's kind of hard for me to believe that other people can't do the same, because their situation is way better than mine. And if you can't get your act together, something's wrong with you, man. It's not something wrong with the government. There's something wrong with you, because there's a lot of things that you could do. You just got to get your hustle on. And I try to teach that in a lot of what I talk about, basically using your circumstances and your situation to your advantage in order to advance yourself. Because it's all about you first and foremost over everybody else. You can't help anybody else if you can't help yourself. And you can't rely on the government to do it all for you. But if you want to understand how the government works, the government is just a big, giant gangster organization. And whoever's going to be the president has got to have a chieftain, tyrant, mobster, mafia godfather, don personality and traits in order to rule over this corrupt criminal organization called the United States government. It's the only way that it can work. And for all of you out there that says, oh, the United States and this and that, they're bad and they're this and that, there's not a single government in this world that is not corrupt and not bad. Because it's the way you have to be, or people will walk all over you. It's like I said, in prison politics, it's the same thing. That's why I parallel these two, because they're exactly the same. Prison politics, if you got a weak shot caller, everybody's going to walk all over you, and your car is eventually going to stab you in the back and throw you out. I've seen shot callers being too weak and too lax get thrown out. All somebody's got to do is ride a kite and send it upstairs somewhere, and that dude's out. He's basically been impeached. And somebody else takes his place that's more firm, more strong. He's going to rule over that with an iron fist. And to a large degree, a lot of these people have never been very effective because they're too extreme. You have to balance the two in the middle. You can't be too soft. You can't be too hard. You got to balance it right in the middle. And the person that can do that can be a successful godfather in this organized crime family that runs the world, basically. And all these other mafias that are other nations basically have to either bow down, pay homage, or try to bring down the biggest family on the block, the biggest gang on the block. And it'll never happen because this country is far too powerful for anybody to ever take down. The only way that it can get taken down is from within. But I got to tell you this. I've been seeing some stuff where some people that support Bernie Sanders is talking about an armed uprising and everything like that. How I find that to be ironic is how can you agree with an armed uprising when you want to ban guns? You're in support of banning guns. Most people that are on that side, the left side, don't want guns, but yet you want to use them to your advantage. How hypocritical is that? But this is what it is. Politics is the street life on steroids. It's the gangster life at a higher degree, at a higher level, at a much more organized fashion than the disorganized bunch that's on the streets. Because most people that are in prison, most people that are in the so-called gangster life nowadays are just a bunch of drug addicts for the most part and just do things in order to get high. Very few people are in the gangster world that do it for the advancement of their pocket. Most of them want to get high, or most of them believe in some kind of a image that's been proven to be false on so many different levels. So anyways, I got to give credit to Joe Biden on this one. He did good, and I won't really be too upset if he actually wins and becomes the president. I'm not looking forward to paying the high taxes he's talking about, but then again, I don't really think he's going to push that high of taxes. And it's just always just talk in the beginning, but then they do something else in the end. But yeah, when it comes to this voter right here, it's just like your passive aggressiveness, dude, whoever you are out there, come on, man. If you're going to come at somebody like that, don't fucking come at him with that passive-aggressive bullshit. Just basically tell him what you think right off the rip. And don't vote for somebody in the general just because you think they're the lesser of two evils, man. That's just straight fucking retarded, man. I've never heard something so stupid in my life. So, there it is. Joe Biden, the gangster, man. And I can't really say that I could say the same for the other ones, these other candidates that are still in there. I kind of like Andrew Yang, but then again, some of his ideas are kind of far-fetched. When it comes to, what's his name, that Pete Buttigieg or Booty Bandit, whatever, Buttigieg, whatever his name is, I think he's just a political correct candidate. And Elizabeth Warren's a fucking joke. She's already been proven to be a liar. Then you have that Amy Klobuchar, what I don't fuck what her name is. She looks like, just a straight idiot herself. And she made her own staff basically eat a salad with a fucking comb, man. Oh, God. And Bernie Sanders, I like his bombastic, loud talking, but I lost respect for him when he basically backed Hillary Clinton. Very hypocritical after all the shit that he said. And then at the same time, when he got rushed by Black Lives Matter at one of his rallies, he peed on himself and ran the other way behind all of his armed security guards that have like 60-round clips in their machine pistols and their Glock whatevers. Ran behind him. The same people that telling you can't have a 60-round clip, they got an armed security force around them with 60-round clips. Yeah, so if anything, I don't think Joe Biden would be that bad, but I don't think any of them are going to win against Trump because most people don't want to pay more money than they have to, and at the end of the day, it's all about my wallet. There it is there, man. Government politics is basically the exact same thing as the street politics, as prison politics, as you've heard. Go ahead and leave a comment about this. Give me your feedback. Not saying that I support Joe Biden. Don't really like the fact he's very touchy-feely and kind of creepily perverted. But then again, who in politics and entertainment is not? Prison Break Raw, uncut, uncensored, no holds barred, non-sugarcoat, not politically correct, all up in your face, slapping you with that dick of reality, and we out.